The following program is wholly sponsored and produced by Stu Taylor on Business, which is responsible for its content. The opinions and information provided on today's show are those of the guests and or their respective companies and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of this station. It is strongly recommended that all listeners conduct their own due diligence on all companies mentioned and or seek out the advice and counsel of a financial professional. The guests on this show may pay a fee to appear on the show and are not affiliated with the show in any manner. This is Stu Taylor on Business. Now, Stu Taylor.
We're back, and we're joined this morning by another author. His name is J. Michael Curtis. He has a book published by Author House, and you can go to authorhouse.com, barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com. The book is called Try It This Way, An Ordinary Guy's Guide into Extraordinary Happiness. I think this is something every guy and every lady should be interested in. It's nonfiction. It's available, as I said, through Author House and in paperback and hardcover. And J. Michael Curtis is here to join us. Good morning. It's welcome to the show. It's nice to have you.
Well, thanks very much, and good morning to you also.
Morning. Is this a little bit of a stretch to think about an ordinary person, an ordinary guy in this case, Mike, achieving extraordinary happiness? Since it's nonfiction, have you practiced what you preached in the book, and are you experiencing extraordinary happiness?
Well, you start off with the easy questions, too, huh? I do the best I can to practice what I put in the book, and basically what I put in the book is things I've learned, and you learn things from making mistakes. So first of all, I guess I wanted to point out that yes, it is within the reach of all ordinary guys and ordinary gals as well to achieve happiness. It has to do with a few key things, and I guess the point I want to make right off the top is my book doesn't offer any easy, sweet-sounding solutions. It advocates hard work, and it advocates personal reflection and discipline. Those are the things that I think, if a person can apply them, yes, they can achieve happiness. And certainly now, at my age, I'm in my mid-60s, I'm a lot happier than I was when I was younger, and it's because I figured out a few things along the way.
Yeah, it's too bad we can't be born old and go back in time and have the wisdom that we have in later years, but it's just not the way it works.
I'm reminded of the first barbershop I went to, and my dad took me for a haircut, and I must have just been a really young guy, and they had a plaque on the wall, and it was making fun, I guess, of someone with a German accent, but maybe this is German wisdom anyways. It just said, if you get too soon old and too late smart. And of course, at 8 years old, I didn't really understand that, but I kind of do now.
Right, and I guess my point, talking about the barbershop, is when you're finished with the haircut and the barber puts the mirror in back and you say just a little bit longer in back, please. Some things just don't work. But what is your book about? And I mean, you cover an array of topics. I mean, there's really, it's a serendipity of topics here in a sense. And how did you compile it?
Well, I guess once I had the idea that I was going to write this book, and it pretty much took form right away. It did grow a little bit, but my book's a concise collection of topics on which I have opinions, and I think all of these topics are things that can contribute to your enjoying yourself as a human. And so what I decided to include was the collection of topics that I thought I had something to say on. I left out sports, politics, and things like that because I don't really have much to say on those things. But on things like, having a happy marriage and raising your kids and how to get on in the workplace and how to master your inner world, these are things that I've studied and learned about and that I wanted to share with other people. I believe that when you understand something, you can write it down and you can explain it in written form for someone else to understand. And if you can't write it down, it probably is an indication that you don't understand it as well as you think you do. So part of the process of writing this book was my own challenge of, finding out if I really did understand these things that I thought I understood. And as I wrote the book, I had to sort of rethink some of my assumptions and so forth. So it was all in all a great experience for me, as well as I hope people that have bought my book so far, and I'm getting feedback. They seem to like it, so that's gratifying.
Well, you talk a lot about a number of different subjects and insights you have, opinions. You even get into the metaphysical here. Can you give us some insight into the human condition based upon what you've written in the book? Just a few examples.
Well, sure. I mean, it's just that's such a broad question that it's hard to focus in, but I'll take a stab at it. I walk around and when I see people in public, and most of the time they don't look very happy. And I see the way that people treat each other interpersonally and even in the way they drive. And all these things indicate to me that a lot of folks are walking around living their lives in a state of inner turmoil. And I think that one of the most important key messages in my book is that to be successful interpersonally and in your outside world in every way, in your relationships with other people and in your success in business and in the workplace and all that stuff, those things, for them to happen, you need to be quiet on the inside, and you need to learn to get in touch with and master your inner state. And when you achieve that, and none of us are there all the time, and I don't want to I don't want to make the claim that I'm there all the time, but I am there some of the time. When you can achieve a state of inner quiet, that enables you to focus yourself outward in a whole different way. And so you're no longer trying to conquer the world, you're trying to be in touch with the world and be able to sense what's actually going on around you in a way that you weren't previously. And so that's what I see about the human condition, and those topics are covered in my book.
Yeah, how would you describe your style and how you developed it? Your style of writing?
Well, I've been told I was funny since I was a little kid, and I do work at it. So my style is, I guess, serious and funny at the same time, and I do that on purpose. It isn't really all that difficult for me, but I guess the point I'm trying to make by using a style like the style that I used is, this is a book for ordinary people written by an ordinary guy, and so when people pick up my book and start reading it, I want them to find the book to be accessible. It doesn't have a tone that's highfalutin or academic in any way, and that's because, I don't think I'm highfalutin or academic in any way. And, it's really flattering for me when I've had a few people that I know that know me fairly well, and they start reading my book and they say, well, it's just like you're talking. It's like having a conversation with you. Your book has that informal sort of tone.
Big secret of success, by the way, what you just said. Whether you're writing a book, whether you're having a conversation, or whether you're doing talk radio. That point you made was really a profound one. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, well, that's good to hear, because, I'm new at this. This is my, I did some writing in my work, but this is my first book, and it's my second radio interview, so I can't really say I'm all that experienced at it. I'm just...
Well, you have an insightful perspective on life, on people, and I'm glad you brought something worthwhile to put into work. How would you describe your process and how you wrote this? Is this something you pre-planned out? Is this something that... I'm always curious, because I can remember in writing my book, I'd jump up several times at night with a pen and a pad of paper by the bed, and ideas would come up. How did you develop it?
Well, in some ways like the one you described, I would get ideas in the middle of the night, but it kind of settled into an interesting process. I mean, I wrote the easy parts of the book, the part one and the introduction. Those topics are really not all that challenging. I wrote them, and during the spring and fall of 2011, I took the summer off because summer's pretty special, and around here it's kind of a short season. So, that's not worth really describing, but what is worth describing is how I wrote the more difficult parts, which is the heart of the book, part 2, and I did that in the dead of winter, last January, February, and March. And I took those 3 months off my part-time job so I could concentrate on the book, and this, I thought, fairly neat process arose. And, well, I do my best thinking when I'm walking outside, like when I composed the text in my website, and as it turned out, the difficult material in this book, I would take my dog for a walk in the afternoon, and that's when I would get all my ideas. But more importantly, the illustrations and the everyday examples that I would use to sort of make it accessible to my readers. It's one thing to talk about a concept, it's another to provide a real-life example. And I would walk along with my dog on these beautiful winter days, and I'd get these ideas, and then I'd go back and write them down, and without worrying too much about whether or not it was in perfect sentence structure and so forth. And then the next morning when I got up, I would read over what I'd done the day before and improve on it and correct it and sharpen the English and maybe think of a couple more illustrations or whatever. And I'd work like that until it was time to go for another dog walk. So I think I got my my best ideas outside in the fresh air walking with my dog, and then I'd be able to work on writing them down after and correct them the next morning. And that worked out really well for me. I managed to get through that difficult section in the time I'd allotted and was ready to go to my editors by the end of March.
The book is Try It This Way, An Ordinary Guy's Guide to Extraordinary Happiness. It is published in paperback and hardcover by Author House. Author House, Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com, and get a read on it. I love this because observation of other people and how and what life is all about can come back if you examine it introspectively. Can give you some great insights on life. Who would you say this book is for, not only in terms of age or gender demographic, but people's mental states, for those who are misguided in the sense of not enjoying everything that we have in front of us and maximizing those experiences? Well,
I have to say, when I started writing the book, I didn't really have a target audience in mind, although, since I've learned, and maybe I did in the back of my mind, if I had to pick a demographic or an age group, I would say young people that are just kind of getting an inkling that the human experience isn't as simple as it looks. And by young people, I mean people that are old enough to actually tackle these difficult internal questions. So perhaps young men and young women aged 25 to 50, say. I mean, I kind of hate to say this. It's sort of like for everyone, but I think by the time a person reaches a certain age, if they haven't gotten after this kind of internal work, by the time they get to be in their 50s or 60s, it's going to be harder for them.
All right. I want to thank you for a fascinating concept, a terrific book, J. Michael Curtis. The book is Try It This Way, An Ordinary Guy's Guide to Extraordinary Happiness, published by Author House. It's been a pleasure having you on, Mike.
Well, thanks very much, Stu. I've enjoyed it also.
All right. We'll be